Commander ZYX-Thera stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching the blue-green marble that was Earth rotate slowly beneath him. His 4 arms crossed in satisfaction, the crystalline spines along his back glowing with anticipation. After months of surveillance, he had determined that this third planet from the yellow star would be the easiest conquest in his illustrious military career. The inhabitants were pathetically primitive. No energy shields protecting their cities. No orbital defense platforms. Their weapons were laughably crude, chemical explosives and projectile weapons. Most amusing of all, they seemed incapable of unity, constantly warring among themselves over the most trivial matters. Resource disputes, ideological differences, invisible lines they called borders. It would be almost too easy. Begin the demonstration phase, ZYX-Thera commanded, his voice resonating through the bridge with the authority of someone who had conquered 17 worlds. Target the largest population center. A small strike should be sufficient to ensure their immediate surrender. The weapons officer, a young Crothan eager to prove himself, aimed the plasma cannon at what the humans called New York City. A beam of concentrated energy, enough to level several city blocks, lanced down from the ship. But something unexpected happened. Instead of screaming and fleeing in terror as every other species had done, the humans did something that made ZYX-Thera's primary heart skip a beat. They ran toward the destruction. First responders, firefighters, paramedics, police officers, charged into the smoking crater where the plasma beam had struck. They pulled survivors from the rubble with their bare hands, their fragile organic bodies working frantically despite the obvious danger of another strike. Medical personnel set up triage centers right there in the open, treating the wounded while completely exposed to potential follow-up attacks. Are they helping each other?" whispered his tactical officer, all 6 of her eyes focused on the scanner readings. ZYX-Thera leaned forward, his tail twitching with confusion. Enlarge the visual feed. What he saw defied every military doctrine he had learned in his 3 centuries of warfare. These humans, who moments before had been going about their separate lives, strangers to one another, were now working together with a coordination that would have impressed even the most elite Crothan units. Construction workers were using their equipment to clear debris. Civilians were forming human chains to pass supplies. Children too young to help were quietly staying out of the way, their large eyes reflecting not terror, but determination. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're intercepting thousands of transmissions. Offers of aid are pouring in from across their planet. Medical supplies, rescue teams, financial assistance. It's all being coordinated through their primitive networks." ZYX-Thera's mandibles clicked nervously. "Show me the other population centers." The displays lit up with scenes from across Earth. In London, doctors were already boarding aircraft to provide aid. In Tokyo, engineers were running calculations for temporary shelters. In Sao Paulo, citizens were organizing supply drives. Even from war-torn regions where humans had been fighting each other just hours before, soldiers were laying down arms and redirecting resources toward the relief effort. "This is impossible," ZYX-Thera muttered. "They don't even know each other. Their governments are separate. Their religions are different. They speak different languages." But as he watched, he saw something that chilled his warrior's soul. The humans weren't just helping, they were transforming. The attack that should have broken their spirit was instead forging them into something new. Strangers were becoming neighbors. Neighbors were becoming family. Individual humans were becoming part of something larger than themselves. A young human female caught his attention. She couldn't have been more than 20 Earth years old, but she was directing the evacuation of an entire city block with the calm efficiency of a seasoned military commander. When a building threatened to collapse, she didn't hesitate to rush in and carry out an elderly man, then immediately turned back for more survivors. "Sir," his weapons officer called out, "should we fire again?" ZYX-Thera watched as the humans worked through the night, their primitive electric lights creating pools of hope in the darkness. He saw a child sharing her food with a stranger. He saw enemies from different nations working side by side. He saw the wounded refusing treatment until others were helped first. For the first time in his long career, SciFi felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. "Sir," the weapons officer pressed. These weren't the separate, weak creatures he had observed from orbit. The attack had revealed something hidden. These humans were connected by invisible bonds that became unbreakable when tested. They were strongest not when they were winning, but when they were losing. They were most united not in victory, but in adversity. SciFi realized with growing horror that he hadn't been watching a primitive species at all. He had been watching a sleeping giant. And his attack hadn't conquered them, it had awakened them. "Power down weapons," he commanded quietly. "Sir." "I said power down weapons." His voice carried a tremor that his crew had never heard before. "And set course for the outer system. Maximum velocity." As his flagship retreated from Earth's orbit, SciFi took one last look at the blue planet. The humans were still working, still helping, still proving that his centuries of military experience meant nothing when faced with a species that became stronger through sacrifice. He made a note in his personal log: "Earth, avoid at all costs. Inhabitants appear weak but possess unknown defensive capabilities that activate under threat. Recommend immediate classification as, do not engage." Below, humanity continued to heal itself, unaware that they had just won their first interstellar war without firing a single shot.